If we go back the fourth time, then we place them under arrest and bring them before the magistrate, and the magistrate makes them post a bond. That's if it's all in one action. But if we issue this, and they refuse to pay it, in the amount of allotted days that are written on the citation, then we can go in and request a criminal summons from the magistrate. We go back to the residence. At that point, they are served, basically arrested and served and told when to come to court to answer to the judge in the courtroom. That's why I just want to make sure. This was one of the things that Judge Bean wanted to ask about, whether we're going to apply to the civil penalty or whether we're going to do it by criminal penalty. If you do it as a civil penalty, the way it's worded right here, he had a question about that because he caught it too. That it's going to cost you more to go after a civil penalty than the citation was actually worth, than a $50 citation.
And I think again that's probably the standard. When I look at Camden County, they say the same thing. Any violation of this chapter shall be subject to debt defender to a civil penalty, and then you don't get into the criminal until later.
Well, that's where I'm asking you all. How do you all want to do it? Y'all got to make that decision. If you do the civil penalty and I write somebody a ticket, they don't pay it off, and I turn it over to PID, then it's going to cost you $86 to go down here to the clerk of court to issue a small claims action against that person, to bring them back to small claims, which is civil.
But generally, Sheriff, when you have a complaint of noise, I mean, isn't that really an anomaly to go back several times? I mean, when you get a complaint, I mean, usually people are going to turn the instrument down, or
in most cases, yes, sir. In most cases.
So we're talking isolated situations, probably few and far between. You know, where you really have.
I probably get 10 noise complaints a week, at least 10. And it's not necessarily music. It can be anything from a loud truck to a car mufflers, or in some cases we have stereo. We got one man that loves to play his radio just to aggravate his neighbor.
I think
he actually sets it on his back porch on his deck and turns the speakers toward his neighbor so he can aggravate him.
Seeing that, you know, this is something that they probably, from boilerplate language, that if you look at the pros and cons and see which would probably be the best.
Well, I think Ed's idea of if Frank, if our DA could come to a night meeting and talk with us about, because his office will be prosecuting the criminal end of it. Over my years of practice in court, there are certain things you have a feeling about it. One of the feelings I get from the judges, without them telling me, but just by what's happening time after time after time, is when you're in criminal court, they want to have criminal matters. They don't want to have quasi-judicial, this could be civil, this could be criminal. And so a lot of times what happens in those situations, and Ed, you've seen it too, the whole case gets booted or gets kicked out because the judge gets irritated because he's not clear on what the punishment is. So I think the input, to make it work, I think the best input would be to maybe for me to call Frank and our DA and see what he says, and I don't mind calling Judge Bean and seeing if this language can be tweaked some to make them happy, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be implementing.
And that's not concerning, because like I said, gentlemen, if we go in this and you all enact it, and I go in and I do charge somebody, the first time we lose a case or it's thrown out on some technicality, every one that we write from then on is just a waste of our time.
Okay, what you want to let? We'll just let Pitt contact Frank.
He said he